Alrighty, welcome. This is week 6. This is the video introduction, and hopefully you have done last week's work. You've completed all about week 5 and discussed elasticity in the previous week, and then you completed the assignment, the little creation of the problem. And this week we are going to talk about the competitive equilibrium. So this is an important chapter. This chapter talks about how firms operate in a competitive market and how supply basically works and after interacts with demand. So we want to understand how competition really affects directly producers. Okay, so this is the goal of this chapter. It's very interesting, but it's a lot to it. It's very dense. There's a lot of material, so you really need to start early to read it carefully, and look at the many videos that I posted to help you understand it. And so try to complete all the work, all the connect work, and make sure you understand the topic well. Also this week you will have to submit a proposal for the final project. So this class does not have a final exam normal where you go on Connect and take a bunch of multiple choice questions. For this class, the final exam is a research project, a little research project, nothing too extreme, but you need to learn, understand how to come up with an idea, find data, analyze it, and then create a little report for that. It's not too fancy. You don't require to be using extremely intensive statistical analysis, just some basic stuff, but it's to give you an idea how economists operate and how you can find answers to specific questions. So I'll talk about all of that. So first thing, let me go quickly here to Blackboard. So Blackboard, again, when you go, remember you always go to coursework, and when you go to coursework, you will go to week 6. Come on, week 6. Here, and then we talk about the perfectly competitive supply, and then you have the usual stuff. If you go down here, you have the PowerPoint. You download the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint looks like this. Chapter 6, you have a bunch of things to do, learning objectives, and a bunch of things to learn. But it talks about, first is very important, is how opportunity cost relates to a supply curve. Remember, we talk about suppliers, and you guys, if you're business majors, you'll have to end up working in a business. A business decision is always, I have limited resources, money, time, machines, whatever, people. How do I best use them? And remember, if I do one thing, I cannot do another. And so what is the best use? And the best means the one that gives you the most profit. So the assumption here is profit maximization. But again, you're not the only one, you're not a monopolist, so you're facing a competitive situation where other people make the same thing, have the same choices, so how you make the decision based on that, and how much you can affect price or cannot affect price, how changes, say, in the cost of labor or taxes or whatever, affect the amount that will produce, and how all the producers together determine the supply. Okay, so the main idea here is many firms acting together, working given the parameters, price, production, and then make the best decisions and now determine the supply. And then something changes, either the demand changes, taxes changes, or the cost of labor changes, or the cost of gas, something else changes, the new equilibrium, right? Because you'll have to adjust your decisions based on those changes, and then you have to find out what the new equilibrium is. So this chapter talks all about that. There's a lot of curves, a lot of things at the end. So first there are some charts to help you understand how firms operate, but then towards the end you will see there's a lot of graphs with curves. And the important thing to understand is that the idea of diminishing marginal returns. That means, generally speaking, in the short term, when production capabilities are fixed, you have, after a certain point, when you get more efficient, you start to get less efficient. And so there is this thing called diminishing marginal returns. And that's, one reasons why after a certain point, given there is diminishing returns, your opportunity cost grows, and that's when you make your decisions, right? So if you have diminishing returns, you need to decide how many people to hire. You need to know how much each extra worker will bring in extra revenue, and what is the cost of the extra worker for, say, next hour. So you will decide to stay open or not. You see this happening all the time. You see store, for example, and they change the closing time. Sometimes they open 1 hour more, sometimes they change 1 hour less. And they actually, that's what they're doing. They're doing this. They see the marginal analysis. So they look at the last hour. How much money does normally an average comes in the last hour that I'm open? Is that enough to justify the cost of stay open? I have to have a couple of people there selling the stuff. I have to have the computers running, the lights on, all that stuff, right? So is the revenue compensating for the cost? And that's how you make the decision. So sometimes you see stores say, well, before they used to close at 8, now they close at 7. The reason is simply they couldn't cover the cost for staying open from 7 to 8, so they close. Okay, so that's what this chapter talks about, the equilibrium, and then of course the price interaction with the supply and demand, and how the market prices affect the decision of a single producer. That's the main thing of this this week. But when you go to here the Blackboard and you go to week 6, you will see the usual stuff, right? You will see among them the readings and the videos. The readings are, one is about agricultural productivity. This is very interesting. It's a reading on how agricultural production has increased in the United States, not because there's more land. The size is the same, so not more land is put to agricultural uses. Actually, it might be even a bit less. But then, and also less people work in agriculture. So how can you get more stuff with less inputs, equal land, and less people working it, right? And obviously, the answer is productivity. So the chapter also talks about productivity, how that's measured, and why that's important. I always talk about productivity, productivity, productivity. The real reason why wages increase is when productivity increases and the competitive forces are at play. Then there is a bunch of videos. This bunch of videos, they all should help you understand the topic. So I suggest you watch them, and they should help you doing that. And now I'll talk a little bit about the assignments. So the assignments on week 6 are the usual thing that you find on Connect. We'll take you there, take it, bam, done. But you have this week the research topic submission. So by Sunday of week 6, you need to have an idea of what you're going to do some research on for your final. Okay, so if you go to the last week, week 10, I believe, final, there are the requirements for the final, how long it needs to be, what it needs to be there, etc. But for this time, for this week, you need just to find tell me what interests you. So what you need to do is, project 3 is the final, basically. Okay, so you want to research in detail a specific topic of your choice. Okay, and as I said, look at week 10 for specifics. But you want to think of something that interests you. Okay, and for this submission, you need to have the following. You need to have just 3 things. One is your topic. Okay, what is the main idea? Then a brief description of what you want to do. Okay, and then you want to show me that you have done some readings about it, so you at least have some 3 references of the topic that you're doing. And over time, when I've done this type of exercise in principal classes, some students have done really interesting work. And so here are some examples. One is, some students, I remember, they went on Google and they looked at gas prices. You can look at gas stations that will give you the price of the same type of gas on gas stations in an area. And the student took the screenshot of the map and then looked at the different prices and tried to do like a little analysis why not all gas stations charge the same price for gas. And obviously there must be some reasons, right? If perfectly competitive markets work, they should all charge the same, but they don't. There can be other reasons. And sometimes it's because they are far from any other station. So they have a little monopoly power on that. They can. And sometimes there are other reasons, but he was trying to infer that why from the chart. So this is an idea. Like, you can look at different prices. The other one is you can look at why coffee costs so differently. So what is the reason why coffee, if you go to Dunkin' Donuts, it costs less than Starbucks or something like that. And first you want to say if it's true or not, right? You look at prices, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, and then you figure out why that's the case. Or you can look at how much brand name affects willingness to pay. So you can say, well, I like fashion, and I think I like shoes. Like I feel, why do Nike cost more, certain brands, certain types than others, even if they have very similar shoes, they're made the same way, and you can start looking at that. Like, why do they have the LeBron or the whatever, the Air Jordan or whatever they have, right? Something like that. Or you can look at Mono if you like utilities. You can look at regulated monopolies. So how utilities work. There's actually a website we'll see on chapter when you do chapter about monopoly, but it's called the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission. And what they do, they just regulate public utilities. Okay, or you can look at the elasticity of demand for gas, whatever. There can be many. If you like a specific topic, you have a specific interest in a specific item, for example, do that. You know, some people like, for example, I remember some time ago, somebody in another class did something on game consoles. So they were looking at Xbox and PlayStation, all that. They were looking at the prices, what they could do, and they tried to do an analysis. So you can use whatever you like. And this is a type of analysis that is very helpful for you to do, learn how to do it, and do it when you are in your life as a business person. You need to understand how markets work and why prices are a certain way. Okay? And so you have to submit this, and then you will have the rest of the semester, about whatever, there's 4 weeks left, to start working on this. Okay? And so by the end, you should have a little project, tidy project that has some sources and explain that. So this should be a good way to apply some of the stuff that we have done. And for this week, though, you only have to have an idea. So start thinking about it, start looking at the world around you, what interests you, and come up with a topic. Okay, so that's it for now. And again, if you have an email, if you have a question about anything, email me. I just received an email from a student that was doing some work on one of the projects and asked me about if it was doing correct or not. So as you're working through things, feel free to send me a message and I'll guide you. I'll give you some hints if you're on the right track or not. That's why I'm here. So no problem with that. And actually, it's a good thing. It means you are thinking about it, and finding difficulties at this stage is perfectly fine. There are always difficulties in life, and that's simply how you address it. That's the important point. Okay, so that's it for now. I'll see you next week, and I can't wait to read your proposals. Goodbye. I'll stop the recording now.